What's poppin', everybody? You are now watching Boyz Sports Show. I'm your host, King Round, here with the homie, my co-host, the homie Kyle. What's happening, Birdie?
Yo, it's good to see you again, man. I'm great. Had a great, wonderful weekend, man. Blessed to be here. We got a lot of good stuff to jump into, engage. But yeah, I'll let you take it away.
All right. And so before we get jumping, man, and even before we send a shout out to the sponsor, trying something different today in a different order. But make sure you go like, subscribe, and follow all of our socials. As far as the podcast themselves, you see ours on the bottom of the screen. But make sure you like, follow, subscribe on Facebook, the He Say, She Say channel, all one word. He Say, She Say, all one word. Make sure you go and like and subscribe on YouTube as well. And keep up with any highlights, anything we're talking about, comments, and all of that. So shout out to the sponsors as well. If you want to do any photo shoots, music videos, podcasts like what you're watching, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And so what did we decide to go with? Oh, yeah. So I'm actually happy because once again, my squad is being a part of history.
Yes.
Head coach, first African-American head coach, and now first Black woman to be a president of an NFL team, Sandra Douglas Morgan. After doing some research, man, I actually was like, it's really dope that Las Vegas got a team, and now she has been a local for over 40 years, and she went to El Dorado High School.
Yeah.
She was part of the gaming board just recently before taking this job. Her husband is a former NFL player, and even in her quotes, played for two teams, but we're not going to talk about those teams because now she's a part of, and they are a part of Raider Nation. Is this a big deal?
It's absolutely a huge deal. It's a huge deal because it's groundbreaking. The Oakland Raiders continue to make history with minority hires, right? When we talk about the gender equality, we talk about women getting a chance to get an opportunity in these types of high level positions, but also those who are qualified to do it, such as Sandra Douglas Morgan, and minority, obviously her being an African American, so women and minorities, she fits that build. But most importantly, she's qualified, and we look at kind of the disarray and dysfunction that was surrounding the Oakland Raiders organization, Ralph, over these past couple of years. This is huge because they normally have hired from within their organization, right? And so, well, now we're seeing this as of late, this hasn't quite been working. And so, like, you know what? Let's go outside. Let's get Sandra Douglas Morgan. She's very, very well spoken lady. Seems to have command people's attention when she spoke. When I heard her speak, it was almost like listening, dare I say, to female Obama. It's something about her just gravitates you to her when you hear her speak. And she openly addressed the I guess you could say, like, acknowledge that she's going to be stepping into a big role. And, I'm a king of quotes. I don't call myself a king, but, it is what I mean. Me with the quotes over here. So, but we're both kings, by the way. She said this real quick. She said, "Let me be clear. I'm not here to avoid or sidestep problems or concerns that need to be addressed." Morgan said in her letter, "I've given long and thoughtful consideration to joining you, and I've done so because I believe in the promise of the Raiders. Most importantly, I believe in your core values of integrity, community, and commitment to excellence. I will expect you to embody those and to hold me accountable to do the same." And so we talk about accountability. And so she put that straight to the forefront. I liked what I heard. I like the fact that she's qualified. The fact that, anyone who, quite frankly, in my opinion, who's upset with this hiring or wants to poo-poo this hiring, they should be given the side eye. And for you personally, just, obviously, we're on and off there were boys. I'm very happy for you and your organization, man. And I truly want her to be successful in her role. And I believe her being successful in her role will pay off dividends in the Raiders. But I'm going to continue to let you cook on a little bit more because as your team. But I'm very, very happy and pleased with this hiring. And I'm looking forward to bright things in her future.
I'm excited for it, man, because I think like it's dope to be a part of history.
Mm-hmm.
They just set the groundwork as far as being a trailblazer for many things, as well as he had the youngest coach at the time. He had the first black head coach. He had the first Hispanic head coach as well. And so, plus her ties to the city of Las Vegas, and it's actually kind of crazy because I remember having this conversation with Tar. Shout out to Tar, a friend of the show. Me and him had this conversation. We were talking about the Las Vegas Aces, and it was like the president of the Las Vegas Aces is someone that the wife of someone who played for the Raiders. And so to see those ties with the city continue to hold and push the values forward with these organizations, I think is dope. She's not the first female or the first African American, but she is the first of both. If you put both together, she's a African American woman. So it does make first, and as far as on that tip. But then at the same time, it's like her ties to the city. She grew up here, went to high school here, still lives here, as well as being the wife of a former NFL player, so she knows the game of football. And so you put all of that together, you put someone who is a very capable candidate.
Yes.
So I'm actually happy that she got the job. I'm curious to see what happens from here. Because I do think that she does have some how things went last season as far as PR standpoint, not even just on the football field, just PR standpoint. I see some things about the Henry Ruggs situation. Then we got John Gruden in that situation. And so I do think that it's gonna, and then even today, I saw that Jamarcus Russell was on the Pivot podcast, and then so the unfortunate situations that the Raiders found themselves in, especially with how long was that? What was that? 2002?
It was a while back.
Like 2002 was when they went to the Super Bowl, or 2001 when they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it was like 02. Yeah.
So many years of obscurity to finally get back to being in a position where you make the playoffs, and now you finally have a team where you could possibly do something, and that's what happens. And so I'm actually happy to see what happens. The moment we traded for Devontae Adams, I was already like, let's start football season today. And so
hey, I feel you, man. I feel you. You know, I want to start the season too.
And so I'm already excited. I'm happy for the football season itself, but then I'm also happy that our president is someone who is from this city.
Yes.
So she's seen where, like, even me, I've been here since 98, 99.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, like, just the growth within that time period. Even, like, when I first got here, I was in North Las Vegas. So the side of town that I eventually grew up on, you could see just the growth from within that city. Like that, this part of town, being in the Silverado Ram Green Valley area, is just the St. Rose itself it looks completely different. So it's so much growth that's been happening in the city, good and bad, whatever you want to say. But I think that having someone that's gonna in this as far as one of our the more prominent organizations, I think the community has grabbed a hold to the Golden Knights because there was no Golden Knights didn't play somewhere else. But if you notice, or if you've had a conversation with people while there was football season, there's so many people that were going to these Raider games once they opened up to the point where the public could these games. So I'm actually curious to see what happens from here, and I'm excited for the future. I can't wait.
And you get, and also my last point I was going to say, like you said, on or to add further, added to your point about excited for the future. The Raiders, since they moved here, they've been moving in an uphill direction. Now, obviously, they have things like you said, they have to hash out within the front office, and a move like this, starts that, right. But in terms of just like team success, most teams they don't have the success that the Raiders have been able to uh, bring to fruition, having moved from one city to another immediately. They made it to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Well, technically, you know what I mean. They made it to the playoffs, but technically they got robbed in that game versus the Bengals. But it's a whole other story. So yeah. So just the fact that you guys are continually having success, you guys are able to attract a high level guy in the Devontae Adams. So I think now just getting that internal stuff, fixed, and her being a like you said, a local. And then I'm not going to read the quote, but she has had the backing also, Ralph, of the players in the organization. I know Max Crosby had some nice remarks to say, and he said that he supports the move. So you definitely want players to be supportive of those types of positions, considering the team president is someone that the players normally don't see. Usually it's as a fan, it's someone that you say, I never want to have to hear from the team president. No disrespect from them, but you never really want to hear from the team president. So
you're hearing from the team president, it's typically a bad thing.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think we both hit the nail on the head, so to speak, man.
Right. And so to continue on, players, execs, coaches put up a vote for the top 10 quarterbacks in all of the NFL. For some strange reason, certain people make this list, but a specific person is not on this list. We talk about him all the time. He's someone we hold dear to our hearts. So should Lamar Jackson feel disrespected? And this is your boy with your organization, your squad. Should
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson feel disrespected for not being on this list?
Yes, yeah. This is a very, very, obviously you guys know, and a very huge topic for me. I'm gonna say it because I feel some type of way, and as a fan, I feel some type of way, and this is kind of like the final straw for me. And I believe for Lamar Jackson, a guy who notoriously has said that he doesn't listen to the media and certain things like that. But we know that's, I don't want to call him a liar, but we know that kind of tongue in cheek, because players do listen, they hear things because they have friends and associates and stuff, and they use it as fuel. And Lamar uses things as fuel. He's used quotes of not bad for a running back, one's an MVP, et cetera, et cetera. He should absolutely feel disrespected. And the reason why he should feel disrespected, Ralph, and people to watching, is because it's one thing when you have random media pundits with their subjective opinions and things of that nature, and people who like to troll, and people use clickbait and hot takes. But it's another when it comes from your peers, right? From coaches, from league execs, within inside the player organization, within inside the coaching organization, within inside the league. And those are the things that we usually hold as having a level of merit, a high level of merit. Just like when I talk about, me and Ralph talk about player rankings or all-time places, or how people are perceived in history in any sport. I would say your peers, your coaches, that matters the most, how they view you. And so I feel like this should absolutely make Lamar feel disrespected, because the criteria always changes, Ralph. You say, okay, you want winning. Well, Lamar Jackson, he's 37-12 as a starter. I'm sorry, but before Lamar Jackson, right, when they had Joe Flacco at the helm, they were in danger of missing the playoffs. Right. And so Lamar Jackson came in, they had to change on the fly, and he saved John Harbaugh's job, who was on the hot seat of literally getting fired. Do we not remember? He was an MVP, a unanimous MVP, voted number one by the players in 2019. Do we not remember? Right. He was the number one seed in the AFC in December. Right, number one seed. He was leading in the MVP candidacy. He was he was number one in throws outside the numbers. Shout out to Warren Sharp, something that they said he couldn't do. They said he couldn't win from behind and do it from throwing from the pocket. He did that versus the Colts, where he was the first player in NFL history to, I believe, have He should absolutely feel. Looks okay. Well, you just had a little technical mishap, but we're still back up. And so we look at all these things, and it's crazy. And so for me, Ralph, when I look at the list, I'm gonna call it what it is, man. A lot of people, they're bitter because me and you discussed this. When Lamar Jackson first got drafted, they wanted him to play an alternative position, a wide receiver. Some people said he should be a running back. They said he couldn't throw. All he did was lead the league in touchdown passes, right? And so when you're wrong about something, and it's one thing to be wrong, but when you're very and so wrong, you can forget it. So people, their hearts are hard and their minds are hard and they're stubborn. They don't want to change. But it's not right. And so I've always felt like regardless of what Lamar does, he could win the MVP next year. It won't be enough. He could win the Super Bowl. It won't be enough for some people because if they never believed in him from jump, they're never going to believe in him later. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to go, like me personally, I don't want to, go too much on a tangent, but it does matter to me because I'm a fan of his. I'm a fan of the Ravens, and I just see the disrespect. And I feel like he's not getting a fair shake. And my last point is this, and we've discussed this on our platform many times. Lamar Jackson, with all due respect to Tom Brady, he does more with less as both a thrower and a passer than any quarterback that you can name in the NFL. They never built really to maximize Lamar Jackson's potential under Greg Roman and investing in a high caliber, not Willie Snead, no disrespect to Snead, I know he played for your team and my team, or a Dez Bryant coming off an Achilles injury. Come on. And Antonio Brown, who he wanted, you didn't go after him. They never invested in a high caliber Pro Bowl type, all pro type receiver like the Kyler Murray's got, like the Baker Mayfield's got, like the Josh Allen's got. Like all the things I'm saying are facts. I'm like, bro, just give the dude a chance. And finally, when I saw the list, with all being objective, I'm not even saying I'm putting him top 2. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that much of a Lamar, stan or something like that. But some people might. Some people might have him number 1, and that's perfectly fine. I've always said when I look at the list, I would take him over every single one in that 6 through 10 list, right? Maybe you got a list in front of you, you can name it all. And I would take him over Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow had one good season. Josh Allen, I will entertain that theory, but he also has Stephon Diggs. Tom Brady, I could see him being over Brady, but I get Brady as the GOAT. Aaron Rodgers, I understand it. And Patrick Mahomes, once again, I'm not going to just throw Patrick Mahomes to the side, but he needs to be in that upper echelon tier of quarterbacks. So yes, Lamar Jackson should feel disrespected. And one more thing, I know I said it was the last thing, but one more thing I just thought about this. I'm sorry, but I'm cooking, bro. I'm thinking about it, and you'll get where I'm coming from. The money, it's a contract year. Yeah. What do you think this does in negotiation rooms? They can say, well, league execs and coaches don't think you're that, bro. So that kind of messes with your money. So that kind of makes me hot as well. So I think in conclusion, Lamar Jackson should feel disrespected. All right. Hopefully I didn't take all your points, bro.
Oh, good, bro. I definitely agree with you, man. It's man. You hit on some of them. Going outside of the numbers. Like, he definitely had his team. He wasn't the number 1 seed in the AFC. But
not at the end, but just in the first half, you know how it goes.
Right. And then even the game before he got hurt, where his last game he played, he at least was a division leader.
Yeah.
And so I definitely, obviously, I'm gonna say yes, he should feel disrespected because of everything that you've mentioned. But then at the same time, the same things that I'm always arguing about. The only person that's in front of him that has not had a top 10 receiver for, I ain't gonna say it's prime because Deshaun Watson hasn't really hit his prime yet. He's still young.
Nah. Yeah.
But he had D-Hop for like 1 or 2 seasons, and then they traded him. But he still balled with the likes of Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. So,
and he never had a defense either in Houston.
And so you got Aaron Rodgers, who had Devontae Adams.
Mm-hmm.
As well as Jordan Nelson throughout his career. Now, I could probably go down a list. I can go down a list of possible, if not for sure Hall of Fame, if not, they should be in the conversation.
Right.
Pat Mahomes. the human joystick, Travis Kelce, and everybody on that. Every wide receiver runs a 4.3. Josh Allen. We weren't talking about Josh Allen being no top 3 quarterback until he got Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're looking at Tom Brady. They got Tom Brady entirely way too high because the last time we seen him play, he looked terrible. I don't care what your stats look like throughout the season. He played great. He probably should have won an MVP, but he didn't. And then how you played, you got outplayed
by Stafford.
Then I go to Joe Burrow. We got Joe Burrow at 5 after 1 season.
Recency bias, man.
So all right, I'm not even gonna go with. I like Joe Burrow.
I do too. I actually think he's good, but recency bias.
To go back to my whole point, Tom Brady. Yeah. Tom Brady had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, as well as Antonio Brown and Gronk. Then we got Joe Burrow in a plethora of weapons that he has.
Yeah.
Then Matt Stafford in an embarrassment of riches. They lose Robert
Woods.
Then they get Allen Robinson. And so then I got Justin Herbert, who got Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, as well.
Hasn't been to the playoffs.
Then Russell Wilson has been playing with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Then I'm going to go to Dak, who had Amari Cooper. Zeke was a whole problem in the beginning part of his career. He's been kind of on the back end. And then now he has CeeDee Lamb. So it's like Lamar does not have none of those wide receivers who are just as good as them. Now, you could possibly say that he probably has a top 3 tight end as well as we'll see what Bateman is. And we're both high on Bateman, but he's just not that yet. So it's like what he's been able to do with what he's had. And my problem, and I don't want to make this a race thing, but when it comes to black quarterbacks, they never set black quarterbacks up for success. Like Kyler is probably the first where they went out and probably Cam Newton at the beginning of his career, where he had Benjamin, he had Steve Smith before he went on to play for the Ravens. And so, like, if you go to McNabb, look at his wide receiver core until they got T.O. Michael Vick, look at his receiver core. His best receiver was Algie Crumpler.
Oh, my goodness. And then Ward done on the dump off.
It wasn't like they built that team around Vic. They just brought Vic in because he just happened to be coming out of prison.
And then they traded away McCoy and DJ.
Exactly. And so I just think that, like, I'm getting tired of the disrespect to black quarterbacks, but also at the same time, acknowledge what this man has been able to do.
Yeah.
He has the same completion percentage as Russell Wilson.
And Brady.
Near that type of talent to throw the ball to. And that's where I feel disrespected for him. So he should definitely feel disrespected. And I hope he comes out and balls out this year and everybody can stay healthy.
Bro, like I'm telling you, man, like you know how it is, because we're all sports fans in the day. Like, you know, this is the first time, and you know, I've had seasons, and I'm sure you've had seasons, whether it's NBA, NFL, whatever sport you choose to watch, right? Where you like, oh, a player's gonna have a breakout season, and your team's gonna be good this year, and all that, and you feel confident, or whatever. It's one thing to feel confident, right? But or when you want to prove something, but like this is when I almost feel like, because I'm not saying I'm in Lamar's body or anything like that. I'm not gonna go that far, but it's like when you know, they say players are motivated, Ralph, like and you could tell, like, they come out, they had this crazy season, and you could tell they are motivated by something since, like, the end of last season to come back and, like, just destroy. This is the type of list, right? That just, like, bro, you feel me? It's like, yo, okay, all right. You know what I'm saying? Because you already see him working. All he's been doing is working, and they put out these BS stories about Lamar and not coming to voluntary the camp. He goes to the mandatory camp, right? But he's working with his quarterback coach, right? You guys talking about his passing. You know he's a good passer, and he throws from the pocket. He's patient, right? He's not a one-read quarterback. Watch the film. Like, watch the film, literally, right? He works with his quarterback coach. He gets his receivers in the offseason. He's like, I'm going to put that work in. You see him working with Bateman. You see him working with these other receivers that he has, right? You see him doing his strength and conditioning. And then he's not getting in trouble off the field. He's in the community working with the kids, trying to be a positive influence on the kids, bring some happiness to their lives. You know what I'm saying? So, like, he's doing all those things that you want him to do, and you still find ways to disrespect him when all he's ever been trying to do was level up his game, because he's like, if I level up my game, I can continue to level up my team. My last point is this, bro, because I know you mentioned the not head coach, but OC, Greg Roman. You're like, man, you still have him? He's the one dude, man. It's like, yo, please. Right, please don't mess this up, man. I don't care where the Super Bowl is here. Get rid of him, because he's a one dude, minus injury, that could blow this thing to smithereens, man. It's like you have to. It's like he's facing internal opposition from his own team, because you feel me? And then last year, like, I remember I hit you up many a time on the show, on the phone. I hit Tar up. I was like, bro. We lost our 3 starting running backs, right? So what does that do to a quarterback? The defense isn't honest. Oh, they can't run the ball, so they're going to try to pass the ball. Cool. Oh, Hollywood Brown. Oh, he can't beat press man. That's it. So now Lamar has to get 1,000 yards off the muscle, right, on the ground. So he has to be the running back and the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And then on defense, we don't have a back end, so everyone goes down the back end. Our defense is 32nd in the league. So what does that mean? Now Lamar has to be the running back, the quarterback, and then the defense is going to give up 40 points a game. So now you have to always play from behind. Because remember, he was in the MVP race because he was constantly coming from behind to get those wins. But I kept saying that the Ravens were fool's gold, no disrespect to the talent of the team, but because they were fool's gold because they didn't even have really a team last season. I was like, the bridge, you mentioned it, eventually it's going to like crack, and it did crack. And once Lamar, he got injured, and we wound up going 0 for 5. So yeah, man, it's just get rid of Greg Roman, please, and just man, the whole. So
that's all. And this answers the question. Thank you for the comment. But
why is he going to come to you?
If we look at last season,
yeah.
What Andrews was able to do in that season, and then look at what Hollywood Brown was able to do in that season. So when you start looking at these quarterbacks, to answer that question specifically with the quarterbacks that are also in front of him, I would much rather play if I'm a wide receiver in my contract year, I would much rather play with Lamar as just strictly a quarterback. If I take away the OC, because I think Lamar takes the heat for a lot that Greg Roman takes away from Lamar. If we look at Lamar as just the quarterback, and you take away the offense in which he plays in, and look at the talent of the quarterback position, I would much rather have him over Dak. I would much rather have him over, like, Deshaun Watson hasn't played in a few seasons. Why is he ranked above him?
Yeah.
And at this point, I think after one season, we're ranking people way too high. Where Justin Herbert, I'm not even like, I like Justin Herbert, but I like Lamar as a much better talent. Where if you open up the offense and let him actually throw the football,
right.
That's where I think that a lot of times we're looking at this like the wrong way, and I think Lamar gets a lot of heat for that instance. But I would much rather, I would probably have Lamar in that top 5.
Yeah, I would have him in that top 5 too, Ralph. Because the thing with Herbert, like, I'm with you, I like him. The only issue is, like, they say and you might know better than I do because he's in your division. But they say he always kind of starts off good, and then he starts to kind of tail off because he's kind of inconsistent, despite having those weapons around him, right? And so I think that's only knock on him. And then Burrow, he already had a rapport going from college, and so that's rare that who do you want? Oh, draft him with like the first or second pick, Jamar Chase, someone that you've been playing with since college, So to answer old boy's question, Lamar Jackson fielded a 1,000-yard tight end and a 1,000-yard receiver who was masquerading as a number one, but he's really like a third receiver on any team in the NFL. And Hollywood Brown, he's undersized. He's a body catcher. He can't beat press man coverage. Is he horrible? No, but he's no number one. So if you're able to have 1,000-yard season with those two guys, imagine having a receiver who has better attributes than a Rashad Bateman. What Lamar can do with him. So that's kind of how I'll end it with that. Yeah.
And to end to this last thing, he
didn't leave Lamar. He loved Greg Roman, bro. Don't listen to him.
Lamar was like, "That's my boy," but I understand.
Yeah, he never mentioned Lamar on the Pivot podcast at all, so we're not going to engage in that.
Right. And so UCLA and USC move on. I don't have it in front of me as far as when that will happen, but they will be moving in. Joining the Big Ten. We have already spoke a couple months ago about Texas and Oklahoma. Moving to the SEC. What does this recent move mean for college football?
Chaos, complete chaos. Oh man, yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, when you talk about the SEC, man. And Big Ten, and that's crazy because Texas. Because I had the article in front of me. 1 second. It says, okay, while the media fallout from Texas, Oklahoma was mostly contained to the Big 12. The league responded by adding UCF, BYU, Houston, and Cincinnati. Okay, in the group of 5 conferences, the Big Ten's move shook things up for everyone outside the Power 2. Within the Pac-12, ACC, and Big 12, talk immediately turned to survival and expansion, often at the same time. So it's crazy, man, because when you talk about like familiarity with the conference and you talk about recruiting, this is where I have kind of like an issue, with it, because I don't like the shifts. Me personally, I don't like the shifts because I feel like it does a disservice to teams and their recruiting and when you talk about the region and having to go up against other elite power conferences, power teams, right? And so I think that kind of, there's a disservice in that, from that, in that regard. So I'm not really a huge component of the move, me personally. I just don't, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, quite frankly. I'm literally like confused by it, Ralph. And I'm trying to see, I think there was another name. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. I was trying to pull up the quote. I just had the quote in front of me. Notre Dame. Yeah. But no, it's just crazy because they've been in that conference for decades, like longer than I've been around.
Right.
Longer than I've been around. So, like, it's one of those situations where I just kind of look at it from more of a recruiting standpoint because that's what I've always looked at in terms of scouts having to go out and compete more. It just makes their job harder. I don't see how it makes it any easier. So,
man, I think this move means it's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
I understand it because I seen some number. I don't have the exact number, but it's something like 200, like the Big Ten versus the Pac-12 or Pac-10. They were the Pac-10 at one point. I don't remember if it's changed or not. But the Big Ten gets $200 million more was getting as far as the TV deals.
Okay.
When it comes to that money, USC is one of the most recognizable brands. And when it comes to up until a certain point, it's kind of like, especially football, at one point, when you thought of that conference, I was going to say division, but if you thought of that conference, you thought of USC, you thought of UCLA, then you probably would go with the Ducks, and then depending on what sport you're talking about, then at that point you can even mention ASU, Arizona, and whatnot. Right. It's like when it's like, all right, we're one of the most recognizable brands. We're holding this whole ship together, but they over there getting bread, and I can move to where we've already kind of been playing them anyway, where it came to when you think about the Rose Bowl, it was always if you didn't make the championship game, the winner of the Big Ten always played the winner of the Pac-10. So now you just bring it to where now you play these teams every year. And
right.
a couple times a year. The one thing that I think is going to be interesting is the style of football when it comes to that. Like Oklahoma, moving into the SEC, where both Oklahoma and Texas spread out the offense.
Spread it out, air it out.
And air it out. And where SEC, there are some teams that are like that, but when you think of Georgia, you think of Alabama, Auburn in their heyday, they weren't really spreading it out and airing it out. They were tough-nosed, very physical. So when you start to play like that, it's like the styles. I always say styles make fights, but at the same time, these issues are. You're going to run into some big issues when it comes to the actual style on the field. So now then when we talk about college football as a whole, what does it mean for college football? It kind of makes it scary because now you're taking away, like you said, those rivalries. You're taking away where USC versus an ASU. Those games were hard fought. You're where Oregon is probably now the leader within that conference. So now it kind of makes it a little weird. It makes it a little scary for the future and the state of the sport. I think it'll end up being pretty cool in the long run. I think when you specifically talk about every sport and not just football, because then at that point, all right, if you talk about basketball when it comes to Texas and Oklahoma moving to the SEC, now it's more of it's a level playing field. But if we're specifically talking about football, it's going to be a little weird to watch some of these. What do you say? Some of these rivalries and what if they continue to keep happening? Because Notre Dame versus USC is a big rivalry, but Notre Dame has no tie to a conference. So it's not like we're going to stop seeing that like this. The one thing that could happen is you could see Notre Dame moving into the Big Ten.
That could happen. That could definitely happen. Yeah, for me, rivalries, because I think so I like what you mentioned about the TV deal, because there could be someone could rebuttal, be like, well, Kai, you mentioned the TV deal, and so the TV deal giving them more brand recognition, more national television coverage will allow potential prospects, the high school prospects and what have you, to be like, okay, well, I see that team now and I see the way they play more on TV, so now maybe I'm more inclined to give to listen to what a scout or a coach would want to say in the recruiting pitch to me. So that could be kind of sort of a rebuttal. But yeah, as a fan though, because every time you talk about movement, right, for a team, it affects not just from a financial basis, from a player basis, from a coach basis, but also a fan basis, right? And so the fans, they're paying their money, or they're going to see the games, or vice versa, watching their games in the comfort of their homes or whatever. And so when you remove certain rivalries, historic things that have been around for decades, that will always kind of send a shockwave throughout their psyche and stuff like that. So I think just from an entertainment value, we just have to be very, very careful and really think things out, because you can do a lot of things for money and you can always change, but change isn't always good. So I think this will be, they say hindsight is 20/20. I think we'll look back at this, probably 5-10 years down the line, and we'll see, was it worth it or not. So we'll see. But yeah, those are just my sentiments early on the move personally.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens and how what the future holds.
Mm.
I'm an Ohio State fan. I don't see them messing with us at all. So we still. So it is what it is. Y'all can come get beat on too. I'm cool with that. But Shaq, you proposed this topic. I actually did not see where the quote or what he actually said. So I'm gonna let you take over at that point, and then I will be able to really express how I feel on the whole thing.
Yeah, so I don't have the article in front of me, but I believe it was Taylor Rooks. Yeah. Sit down. They were talking about like the superstars and who Shaq believe was a superstar in this league, in the NBA. And the one name actually was left off his list that we'll get into, and people will probably figure out who I think should be on the list when I name them. But the guys he believed were a superstar in this league was LeBron James. Okay, that's a given, right? Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Kevin Durant. Shaq said there are only 4 superstars, and so Shaq is a guy, a man whose word reverberates just as big as his body. You know what I'm saying? Like when Shaq says something, people listen. Now, do they always absorb and agree with what he says? No. You know, he, like everyone else, has an opinion. He's entitled to his opinion. But it kind of makes me think, Ralph, of a conversation that we had on this platform probably months back about what really is a superstar. What is the definition of a superstar? Does a superstar even exist? You know, or each individual criteria. Are we talking about box office Shaq? Are we talking about championships, postseason success? And so, first, do I agree with Shaq? No, I don't agree with Shaq. I do agree that the guys that he listed are superstars, but I don't agree with the omission of one name on that list, and then another name I'll give you that you could say is a borderline superstar or a superstar, and I think you could throw him some respect on that list. But Kawhi Leonard should easily be on that list, personally, because when I think about superstar, here's what I think, Ralph. When you notice he didn't mention Jokic or Embiid. And I agree with that, but I'll get into why. Postseason success for me. Kawhi, we know that his lack of playing the game of basketball during the regular season due to his degenerative knees and load management and things of that nature rubs some people the wrong way. But when he gets to the postseason, the dude looks like 98 MJ. I'm not trying to speak blasphemy. I'm just saying it look like it. I'm like, man, this dude, because 2019 versus 2019 KD, that was a real conversation in terms of the postseason. Who's playing better in the postseason? Then the last time before got injured, it was once again him, KD, and then Giannis. And that 2021, they're like, these are the 3 best postseason players. And the dude was giving it to him. And then you couldn't really say, okay, no, KD's the best right now in the playoffs. No, Kawhi's the best in the playoffs. No, Giannis is the best in the playoffs. All 3 of them were getting it in. And so, and then you know what LeBron does. I know it's been a while, people, since he's been there. But when he was in the playoffs prior to getting ran off by CP3 and Staples Center, you know historically what he did in the playoffs. So I think the fact that you can just elevate your game to a, dare I say, with no disrespect, no religion, but to a godlike level like those guys have. Even Steph Curry at times has gone nuclear. You just look at the statistics, whatever, because people like stats. Can't throw them out. That he should definitely be there because he's actually really like I think 3rd like all time in the last like 5 or 8 seasons in terms of postseason like numbers or something like that. Kawhi is. So we're not going to disrespect that. But then another guy for me is Luka. I'll definitely put Luka there because I already know what he does. I mean, dude never had a second option outside of Brunson. But I'm going to go Jimmy Butler. The reason why I say Jimmy Butler, and this is controversial to people, Jimmy Butler, he actually irks me to the point where like I like him as a person and a player, but he irks me because at times I'm like, bro, you're being way too passive. But I felt like a key kind of turned where people always said, Ralph, Jimmy needs to play like he did in the bubble for them to get to the NBA Finals last season. They fell short by 1 game. Sure, we can talk about, well, maybe they wouldn't have played the Celtics and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, but they played the Celtics, and that's all that matters. They actually did play the Celtics. He was the best player every single game on the floor that they played the Celtics. The Celtics just had the better team. And he did something. Instead of deferring to someone else, Ralph, in the waning seconds of the game, he came down. He said, screw it. Whether I make this shot or I miss this shot, I'm going to take this shot. And so he took the shot. And after the game, he was asked about the shot. And, you know, he pretty much said that, hey, I felt like this is the shot I should take. Woo, woo, woo. People can say whatever. But he was pretty much, dare I say, carrying that team.
Right.
Playmaker, as a defender, and as a scorer. And so I felt like to be able to see it outside the bubble, right? Just being able to see it outside the bubble again, knowing that I know that it's in there for him, more so than some of these guys, with no disrespect, that we prematurely try to put on that level, like a Jason Tatum, just because he beat KD or swept KD, even though it was a team effort, right? In one series, it's like, I'm KD, you know who I am. So let's not forget. So I would put Butler in that list. That would be my rebuttal of Shaq. Kawhi is a given. Luka, for me, is a given as well. We can talk about people hunting him on defense, but people hunt Steph, and it happens. You're not going to lock up everyone. But I feel like Luka almost got to the But he made the Western Conference Finals, because he beat the Suns, and then he beat the Jazz. And the dude is nice. He's nice. And if I miss anybody else, it's only because I truly believe they're on the brink. Like, I like Embiid as a player, as a skill set wise. In the playoffs, I'm still kind of just me. And Jokic, now regular season, amazing. I actually think Jokic is nasty, but I don't see him as a historic type, postseason a guy. And everyone else, the other like three guys, LeBron, Curry, and like Giannis, are guys that what do you say? Like, if you build a franchise around, could they lead your team to a championship and then also be the reason why they win a championship? So I don't think Shaq was far off. I just don't agree with his entire premise of only 4 players.
Right. Yeah, like I would add those two. I would open it up. I would say there's like probably 6 or 7.
Yeah.
There's as many as 10. I think that there are certain people that are like on the brink.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been on record to say that if Ja doesn't get hurt, we're probably having a different conversation as far as adding him to this conversation.
Yeah.
I think that the way that Jason Tatum played in the finals showed that he was not, and that he could. I do think that there's definitely a difference between superstar and star, and I think that a lot of stuff that gets thrown around a little too loosely. And so for him I think that was the point, is that he was trying to make.
Yeah, that was his point, I think. Yeah,
that there's not that many superstars. So for people to be like, oh, well, this person's a superstar, this person's a superstar, this person's a superstar, it's like, yeah, I can't really to you. And so I do think that I wouldn't say that Luka's a superstar, because it's not just the defense. There's moments in his free throws where his free throws are a problem. The shot selection is a problem.
That's fair.
Bro, you have the mismatch. Just go get the bucket. Why are you trying to dribble, get until you step back 3? Like, bro, you have a smaller defender on you. Take him to the rack.
Would you say he's in the same tier of like a James Harden?
Yeah.
Okay. This one. Okay.
But I would put him a little higher than James Harden, because he actually hoops in the playoffs. That's
fair. Okay.
And so I would put him in that same tier as far as like where James Harden was in his prime. I wouldn't have said that James Harden was a superstar because of how he plays in the playoffs. But at the same time, it's like he was a good free throw shooter. He got to the line. He made his teammates better. When he had Chris Paul, he played defense. I don't think that gets talked about enough. Once Chris Paul got there, he started playing defense. It just wasn't – he's not the type that's just going to go out there and lock up. He plays passing lanes really well. He has good hands. And so, like, real good, strong, quick hands. So it's like I think that when you start to pick and choose Steph as a defender, Steph gives effort on the defense.
Effort, yeah.
Regardless of if he can guard you or not, he's giving effort on the defensive end. Where Luka is not necessarily giving that same effort. It's that he doesn't have that same want to play defense, which is why I can't put him in there. Kawhi, on the other hand, I think he's getting penalized for his injury history. But when he's on the court, he's a superstar. There's no arguing that. Tell me what's his hole in his game.
He does it because he fixed the playmaking issue. So
exactly. He's still a superstar after how they got swept. Then we're allowed to let Kawhi rock with what happened in Game 7 in the bubble.
Right.
And so
the bubble
thing that gets messed up is I actually think that you could argue Paul George is a superstar. Kawhi,
mm-hmm.
and it was just that Clippers team, and Paul George was the best player. He took that Suns team that got to the finals. What was it, 6 or 7 games?
Yeah, 6 games.
And so it's like, if we take away what happened in the bubble, we don't look at Paul George as people be acting like he's a whole scrub, and it's wild.
Yeah.
So I do agree with Shaq. I would say there's 5.
Okay, that's a nice number. Yeah, I can see it realistically. Yeah.
I'm gonna go 6. I'm gonna say 6 because I do agree with Jimmy Butler because of what he's able to do. He just has to be more aggressive.
Yeah, it's like a mindset kind of thing, right? Mentality.
He doesn't have a hole in his game.
Nah.
Because as much as people try to say, like, oh, he's not the best shooter.
But who is?
Do we see him actually, like, nobody guards Jimmy Butler like we're going to let him shoot.
Right.
So regardless of how good he is as a shooter, we don't think of him as one of the greatest shooters in the league. But they don't play him in a manner where they're not like when Russell Westbrook was with the Rockets, they was guarding him 8 feet away.
Oh man, that's called a string.
We got a couple quick hitters before we end, Joe. But to a certain degree, I just would add Jimmy Butler and Kawhi to the list. I would leave Luka off for now. But I actually do think that Ja stays healthy. If Ja stays healthy, we're having another conversation. And Luka just has to fix. He has to have that drive to play defense while also you got to make your free throws.
Hey, and to all the Knicks fans out here, man, no, Julius Randle is not a superstar. Stop it, man. I remember they was like, man, bro, he's the next Zach Randolph. I'm like, all right, bro, like let's calm down now, you know.
And then anyway. Before we get up out of here, Paolo Banchero in the summer league for 2 games, averaging 20 points, 6 assists and 6 rebounds, or was it 6 rebounds and 5 assists?
I just had the numbers up. 20
rebounds. They choose to hit him to get it right.
Hell to the no. The reason why, because I kind of went back and forth, like, hell no. I'm like, dude's young. Okay, you know what? You know, you talk about the injuries and all these, like, guys, man. All he wanted to do is hoop. He said, I want to hoop. And he said, the dude said he wanted opportunity for, like, the G League people. And man, cut the crap, man. Let the boy hoop. He's young. He get hurt. He got all the offseason to recover, man, and rejuvenate. Let that dude ball. So, no.
Yeah, I agree with you, bro. Like, for me,
we came to go see him. That's why. Yeah.
But it's not like he's, like, mid-20s. He's 19 years old.
Right.
But if he want to go hoop, let him hoop.
Yeah, and people pay tickets not to they pay tickets to see him, not the G League.
Right. Exactly. Like, we're paying tickets because I want to see
Paolo and people
go against each other.
Right. So
that's what Shannon Sharp called the bull jive. That's
like rest.
Right. Yes, bro. You're 19. He don't need rest. Steelers rename Heinz Field Acrisure Stadium.
Hell no to that too.
I know this is your rival, so I'm gonna let you rock.
Hell no, bro. Hell no. This is tradition, man. This tradition. Look, if they ever change the name of the Ravens Stadium, I'd probably faint. Unless it's like something to do with the Ravens. I'm not gonna lie. Our team name makes no sense. I get the whole M&T Bank thing, the M&T Bank, but like, come on, man. Can we have something more like, I don't know, like terrorizing? But anyway, Heinz Field was cool, man, because when you think of Heinz Field, you know who I think of? Heinz Ward. And Heinz, they're spelled differently, but they sound the same to me. So, no, they didn't get it right, man. They need to stop changing the names. The only thing that they need to change is probably the quarterback, but, I don't want to, get on him, man, because I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. But, yeah, man, Heinz Field, no, stop it, man. That's tradition, bro. So, nah.
And then for me, I actually do think that the Thunder got this right.
Okay.
Hit Holmgren with a Josh Giddey. They with each other. Josh Giddey is also coming off of his a successful rookie campaign, averaging 13, 8, and 6, while also being someone where, like I said, it gives them an opportunity to create chemistry.
Yes.
So be with someone who spent a year in the league. This is what you can expect. I've been in this situation against this superstar and he played well. We've seen LeBron talking about how good Josh Giddey was and his stat sheet and he has a promising future. So I think that they got that right, man.
I agree. I believe they got it right. The key is what we call mentorship, right? So all players should have a mentor. All players should have a vet because one, it helps them navigate the league, not just on the court, but also off the court. And it helps them with their games and maturing their games. And also you can pick up the game at a quicker pace and how to, see things on the field and on the court. So I think that it's really good how they paired them together. They get a chance to play together. And there was a guy who Giddey himself had spoke highly of. So building a rapport early and often is the key to success down the line.
And we got a little bit of a gap in between when I normally start my outro. So Lamar, another person that was speaking with Taylor Rooks, came out and said that he would cook Mike. Did he get it right?
Hell to the no. Man, I'm on fire today. What is that? 3 hell no's? 3-1? Does Ralph have a comeback? No, it's like 3-1 comeback like LeBron in 2016. But no, hell no, man. Now, here's the thing about Ja, man. Because I know you're on social media. I'm on social media. I know we live busy, hard lives and stuff like that. But when we get a chance, we peep things, we hear things. And so, I see the energy toward Ja. I'm trying to navigate it. Some people say, oh, Boy's talking too much. Some people say, oh, man, well, it is what it is. But then I feel like a lot of people feel like he's talking too much and people are saying he speaks blasphemy and all this kind of thing. I'm going to put it to you like this because I'm going to take the angle like this for the sake of time. I feel like I think people are running away with it because people are literally like I seen clips when people are talking about, what did he do in the playoffs and against this guy and that guy and what have you won and you haven't won any chip? I'm like, man, if you don't get up out of here with that bull job, what does winning a championship have to do with a mano-a-mano, one-on-one, heart-to-heart type battle on the blacktop versus MJ? And then people say, MJ's great, but Ja would get his off. Okay, first of all, look, I don't care how many times you spam a clip. Keyword, spam a clip of Michael Jordan in 96, 97 getting crossed out his boots by Allen Iverson. That doesn't mean Ja's going to do it, and that doesn't mean that Allen Iverson is beating Jordan in one-on-one. Did we not forget what he did to old boy when he came out of retirement and he cooked him? And he said, look around you. Look around you. What do you see when you look around you? Look, you got nothing to do with those. Remember that? that was MJ, bro. So no, realistically, like MJ would blow by him, he would take him to the post. You ever defended someone who's bigger, stronger, more athletic than you in every which way, and he's just psychotic, which we probably haven't went up against someone psychotic. Like MJ would literally lock him up where it would be like destructive if he wanted to. But I don't think Ja was really trying to be disrespectful. But I will put a word of caution for the people in the past our generation, what do you call them, like the Gen Zs or whatever. I do get a sense where I don't think they really, even after the Last Dance, I don't think they really understand just like how like crazy like good MJ is. And I would say probably look at some of the 80s MJ and early 90s MJ, and you would understand what they mean in terms of like his skill set, his athletic profile, because we talk so much, Ralph, about the rings, and we don't talk about his game. Who on TV is actually breaking down the game and how to attack players, right? So I think if they understood that and stop looking at the rings, no disrespect to the rings, they would get a better idea and more reverence of MJ. I'm gonna let you take it away for the rest. All right.
And the last thing before I close it out.
Okay.
I normally don't even agree with Nick Wright, but Nick Wright was correct. Mike's best years as a player, a statistical player, he was recognized as a GOAT once he won rings. But his best years, if you go look at his stats, was before he ever won anything.
Exactly.
If you put Ja up against that Mike, no. If you put him up against like the Last Dance Mike, he was standing on a better chance.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. We had a really good show. Sorry for the technical difficulties. both audio wise, as far as the internet. I'm still trying to get figured out as far as being in this new home. I have to tweak some things. We'll have to sit back, regroup, and figure it out. But thank you all for watching. Make sure you follow us on all our socials on the bottom of the screen. Mine are for Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch.
And you can follow me on IG as well.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Check us out next week. Peace.